my Holomaniacs out there! Welcome back to the channel, it's so great to see you again. Now, as you guys know, I'm a Disney YouTuber. You know, most of my content is about Disney. I love the movies, I love the parks, there's so much about Disney that I just love. But the more I've been a Disney YouTuber, the more I've gotten to know other Disney YouTubers and Disney Instagrammers. And I've gotten to go to Disney events, and I've got to meet fans, and I've got to go to like D23. So because of all my exposure to Disney, I've gotten to see such a wide array of Disney fans. And I've noticed something throughout all of my Disney-ness that I have done. And I have discovered that there are different kinds of Disney nerds. And in my personal experience, I could narrow it down to about 5 different groups of Disney nerds that are out there. You could argue a couple more, and I thought about adding a few more for this video, but there's 5 that really sum up the vast majority of Disney nerds out there. And I really wanted to share that knowledge with you guys, so you guys can decide what kind of Disney nerd are you. And on top of that, knowing the different kinds of Disney nerds there are can help you to relate to a different Disney nerd that you may not know that are you Disney very well, and that'd be really cool to sit down and learn and figure out some stuff from them. But before we get started, I want to make sure that you guys realize that just because you associate really heavily with one type of Disney fan doesn't mean you can't associate with another one. I associate to 3 of these extremely strongly and 2 kind of a little bit, but I think that all Disney nerds have at least a respect for all these different ones. So without further ado, let's talk about the 5 different Disney nerds that there are. Number 5 is something that I would like to call the adopted nerd. Now, the adopted nerd is anyone who is a massive fan of a movie or a property or a company that Disney did not create, but later acquired. So great examples of that would be Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, The Muppets, Indiana Jones, pretty much all of Lucasfilm. I could go on and on, because Disney's bought a lot lately. And if the whole Fox merger goes down, there'll be an even bigger group coming in. These are the fans that really associate with their main brand and are really only Disney nerds because Disney bought them. Sometimes they're really excited to be associated with the House of Mouse, and other times, not so much. I know some of the really hardcore Star Wars fans are not happy to be associated with the House of Mouse, but you're welcome to the Mickey Mouse Club. So not everyone who is an adoptive nerd likes being part of the Disney family, but most do. From what I've been able to tell, most people really enjoy it. I know there's a few that don't, so with them, just don't call them a Disney nerd. Just don't call them whatever fan they'd like to be called. Star Wars fan, Marvel fan, whatever they want to be called. Call them that. But we all know that they're part of the Disney family, and we want to welcome them in, even if they don't want to be here. The next type of fan is the Disney merchandise nerd. Now, I had no idea that this was a thing. This wasn't something I discovered until after I started working at the Disney store. Now, the Disney merchandise nerd is not the person who just walks into a Disney store in a mall or at Disneyland or at Disney World and just buys everything. They're not like, oh, I love this Dumbo plush. Let me take it. Ooh, I want this Mickey plush. It's mine. I tell you, it's mine. No, that's not what they're doing. The merchandise nerds are all about whatever is limited edition, celebration items only. They're all about the exclusivity of it all. Something like this would be a great example of what a Disney merchandise nerd would want. This is a Peter Pan Captain Hook figurine set, part of the Disney Fairy Tale collection. As you can see up here, it is a Disney Store exclusive. And this is what it looks like out of the box. You see Captain Hook, you got Tinkerbell up there, and Peter Pan. And this is only one of 6,000 made in the entire world. That's the stuff that Disney merchandise nerds are after. They want the collectibles, they want the limited edition stuff. Now, I had no idea that this was a thing until I started working at Disney stores. And I started to realize anytime there was a limited edition thing that came out, it was the same people who came to the store every single time. They would spare no expense to get it. They liked the movies enough, but it was the merchandise that they were excited about and only the collectible limited edition stuff. At first I thought it was just some people nearby because I live in Southern California, which is where the Disney studios are, and Disneyland, and Disney was born here, so this is like the hub of everything Disney. But the more I go to events like D23 and meet people at the parks, there's people from all over the world who are coming to buy items, to buy limited edition stuff you can only get there. So yeah, that's the Disney merchandise nerd. Now the next type of Disney nerd is the Disney fashion nerd. Now just like the merchandise nerd, this doesn't mean they walk into every Disney store or Disney park and just buy all the clothing that they can. That's not how they work. The Disney fashion nerd is all about using their love of fashion to portray their love of Disney. This is where your Disney cosplayers come in at big events like D23, Comic-Con, all that jazz. If they can cosplay, they're gonna do it. Because it's not enough for them just to like the character. They want to be the character. They want to embody the character using these costumes to feel like they're a part of the story. And over on the park side of things, that's where you have your Disney bounders. Now for those of you guys who don't know about Disney bounding, because it is relatively a new thing, Disney bounding is all about using normal everyday clothes to hint at a character without necessarily putting on the full costume. Because at Disneyland and Disney World, you can't do that. There are rules against adults coming in wearing costumes. There's special dress-up days at the parks for like Dapper Day and Black and White Day. That's what they're about. They want to show their love of Disney using their fashion. This has also spawned an entire culture within Instagram and YouTube. There's so many Disney YouTubers out there who are doing that. So the next one up is the Disney Parks and Resorts nerd. These fans are all about the parks, whether it be Disneyland in California, Disney World over in Florida, whether it be Disneyland Paris over in France, Disneyland Hong Kong, Disneyland Shanghai, Disneyland Tokyo. Wherever it is in the world, they're interested. A lot of times they want to go to every single park in the world. They're normally up to date on what's happening within every park. Whether there be rides that are shutting down and we're getting new ones, new additions that are happening to rides. Like most recently we had the change with Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland. And usually, but not always, they tend to be near one of the parks around the world. Because when I lived in Texas, finding a Disney park nerd was next to impossible. But now out here in California, they're everywhere because it's just a hop, skip, and a jump down the road to Disneyland and whoop, there you go. So it has a bit more of a connection. But not to say you can't be a big park fan and not live in Florida or California. I've met people who live in Louisiana who are huge park fans. So yeah, you can be a Disney park fan wherever, they just tend to be near a park. And this doesn't include just parks. This also includes like hotel resorts like the Aulani Resort in Hawaii, or if you're talking about the Disney cruises, any type of Disney experience, they tend to be all about it. And they tend to know a lot about it. They want to know what's going on with them, if there's a new cruise ship opening, if there's a new park opening, if there's a new ride opening, if there's a new land opening. That's what they're all about. They want to know when it's happening, they want to know where it's going to be, and usually they want to be there. Now the last type of Disney nerd is the one I think is probably one of the biggest ones, and that is the Disney movie nerd. Now the Disney movie nerds are all about the films that the Walt Disney Company produces. Whether it be their feature-length animated films, some of their live-action films, they tend to love all of it. You could make the argument that within this, there are people who lean more towards the animated films and some towards the live action, but even the ones who are dead set on one or the other at least have a really strong appreciation for the other one, so for sake of argument, we'll put them both together. These are the people that typically know what Disney animation or what Disney studios are making for like the next 2 or 3 years in advance. The second Disney announces it, they want to know. They want to know who's directing these films. They want to know exactly what date it comes out. They want to know what's the issues going on behind the scenes. They love bonus features on Blu-rays because they want to know how these films were made, or they're just big fans of the movies. Whatever it is, you know, that's typically where the Disney nerd, the Disney movie nerd falls. I know words. And especially with as many films as Disney's now putting out, that group is getting bigger and bigger by the second. Now that we have people paying attention to the Pixar films and the Disney feature animation films, the Marvel films, the Star Wars films, the list goes on and on and on and on. And those are what I believe are the 5 biggest groups of Disney fans. So I'm curious, what Disney fan are you? I know for me, I am 10 out of 10 movie nerd first and foremost above everything else, because that was the first thing that I fell in love with about Disney, and it will always be my favorite. But I've really gotten a huge appreciation for the parks now that I live in Southern California. So I give that a 9 out of 10. 7 out of 10, I'd be adopted nerd because of how much I love Pixar, Star Wars, Marvel, all the stuff that's now recently come in. Merchandise nerd, I may be a 4. I think this stuff is really cool, but honestly, I just can't afford as much as I'd like to, and fashion nerd, I put myself at a 2 just because I don't really understand fashion, but I appreciate it. And I've gone to Dapper Day. I did the 2-day Dapper Day this year. Now that's about it. That's all I've done with the fashion. So let me know in the comments down below, what kind of Disney nerd are you? And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Bye!